We will be on page AyinBase 14, a few lines above middle of the page, and the line that we will start from, it begins with the word devukus. And we are up to the point where pointed out that although there was a tzimtzum and the oil of the kav goes through the tzimtzum, it yet after the tzimtzum retains the quality of the yesh in the tzimtzum, in that it retains an element of Ein Sof, as we discussed, and beyond that, it even has the koach ha-atzmi, which is manifest in the fact that there is in from yesh that's able to create yesh. Yesh is clearly an atzmus in the purview of atzmus itself.
Saying that this light can create yesh.
Can create yesh. And the reason for that is due to the fact that it is that oil always remains the devukus to the source, to the yetzim, to the moyer. Therefore, it carries with it the yetzim element, and that's called me'ein ha-atzmi. Me'ein ha-atzmi means, as we discussed, me'ein ha-atzmi means it has an yetzim quality. And we said in that line, devukus hu me'ein ha-atzmi, yesh bo koach ha-atzmi. And it actually retains the koach of the yetzim because of the devukus of the yetzim. There's much to discuss in this. I don't know to what extent we're actually comprehending the principle here. The important thing that will help us to relate to this in the reason that the oil is devuk to the yetzim is not merely that he is connected, but the oil is completely what's called safe effacing. It doesn't represent itself at all. It represents that which the yetzim gives it to represent. It's devukus to the yetzim. This is its primary message, not its own presence, its own nature, but the nature of the yetzim. And this is why we say that the oil retains the koach ha-atzmi, because the oil is totally self-effacing. It doesn't represent itself at all. It represents the yetzim to which it is devuk. And this is the significance of being devuk. And we discussed, in our discussion we made about many illustrations of this concept, which we can actually recognize. Okay, continue on in this line. So this is, so far we were talking about the oil in the achar tzimtzum, which means the oil went through the tzimtzum, but because the oil remains devuk to the yetzim, to the source, it retains a quality of ein ha-atzmi, yesh b'koach ha-atzmi. V'im came, and therefore, we should therefore draw from this in a manner of kol of a kal v'chaymer, most certainly so. Yuvam By ha-oil is option for tzimtzum. For sure, this Inyan can be then recognized and understood in the oil is option for tzimtzum. That's how the precedes the tzimtzum. We had initially a very profound question about the oil is option for tzimtzum. The initial Ayin safe. Just to refresh the principle. Oil in safe, we say oil essentially in the tzimtzum. In the tzimtzum there is not an inherent source for oil. The tzimtzum does not need oil, and there is not an element of oil in the tzimtzum. Therefore, when oil does come, it is entirely a novel creation that tzimtzum creates because it wants to create, it wants to megala, but it doesn't represent tzimtzum. And therefore, it would appear to be, from this follow through on this logic, that the oil and tzimtzum are totally unrelated. Tzimtzum just creates the oil, and the oil does not have an tzimtzum quality at all. Having, however, explained that even the oil tzimtzum, even though it went to the tzimtzum, retains oil in self quality and retains the quality of the atzmos. So therefore, certainly the oil lifnei ha-tzimtzum certainly retains that quality, despite the fact that as we're going to now rehash again what the question. That although, despite the fact that the klolus inyan ha'oil, that the inyan of oil, the whole phenomenon of oil, of overall, hu shenimtzo min ha-atzmus, the phenomenon of oil is that it comes, it surfaces from the atzmus, rak only v'pnei shekahu l'tzeini yisborech, only because this is what in Atmos there was the will to do it. It's not, so to speak, a natural flow from Atmos into oil. There is no natural connection there. In Atmos there is no union. Therefore, the fact that there is oil from the Atmos, it is exclusively because kahu ritzoyna, that this was his will, which means it's a novel creation. And therefore it is totally not in proximity and cannot be compared tzimtzum to oil. And therefore, from that line of thought, it would mean to say that the oil and tzimtzum have no relationship. Oil is not representing oil. The whole oil, it says in parentheses, again he explains this question, that any oil shehu b'chinas gilui min ha'atzmi, an oil that has a quality, that it's a gilui from the etzem. I mean, for example, what is an oil that is gilui min ha'atzmi? Like this, the oil of the sun, or the oil ha-nefesh. The oil ha-nefesh is a gilui min ha'atzmi, because nefesh is a chai, is chayus, in essence a chai. And therefore, the oil that comes from nefesh is oil of chai, of life. The sun, likewise, the sun is etzem behiri, and therefore the oil that comes from the sun is entirely representative of what the sun is. So oil that is b'chinas gili min etzem, it's a gili from what the etzem is. That is hareihu me'eno etzem. That oil clearly has the quality that's me'eno etzem. It is of the quality and of the fabric of the etzem. That we can understand because it comes directly from what etzem is. The fact that there is oil is because there is etzem. It's one and the same thing. This is etzem and this is oil. But when we come to Lamaila, v'ha'oil legabe ha-atzmus, but oil.
To remain on this call, press 1.
Give me a chance.
Returning to the conference room.
The oil relative to the etzem, coming from atzmus, Lagabi ha-re'ene b'bchinas gila min ha'etzem. The oil lagabi ha-atzmi is not in that process of gila min ha'etzem, or gila from the etzem. K'meishin is bo'el le'yil, as we explained before. We explained that in atzmus there is no stinkers oil. In the shemesh there is an oil. Why is there an oil in the shemesh? Because shemesh, in its very essence, stands for something. It is light. Therefore, there is a need of oil. What this light, how this light will affect its surrounding. It's an inherent function in shemesh. There's an inherent function in nefesh. That's why there is an inherent element of oil. Atzmus does not have an inherent function. Therefore, there is no element of oil in atzmus. Therefore, oil is not b'chinas gila min ha'etzem. That's what it says originally. Mikol mokoim. But now we have discovered a new principle that allows the oil to represent the etzem, even though it is not a gili from the etzem. Who is with me in this sentence?
And because Hashem wills it. That's because Hashem wills it, as you said.
You with me, yeah?
That's because Hashem wills it.
Huh?
And that's just
No,
because
you're
Hashem
repeating my
wills it, you
words.
said.
No.
Well,
Repeat
that's
this
what you said.
the last thing you said.
Oil that is gila min ha'etzem has clearly is ma'en ha'etzem, retains etzem quality, because it's a gila min ha'etzem. But oil that is not gila min ha'etzem does not have etzem quality. The oil in soil, the oil leki, is not gila min ha'etzem, because in etzem there is no oil. So it cannot be gila min ha'etzem.
So you said it's new creation because Hashem wills it. It's a novelty. You said Hashem's
Right.
Right.
But if it's a novelty, it's not representative of the etzem. So we have come to recognize through the process of understanding of the oil after the tzimtzum, we came to recognize that there's another phenomenon that allows to the oil an element of etzem, even though it is not a gilum in etzem.
It's another phenomenon. What?
Another aspect, right? Even though it's not a gilum in etzem, and yet it retains etzem quality, as we see in the oil sheyachar tzimtzum. And what is this? What is this phenomenon? The Ayin of devukus. So therefore, the oil in circle gabi atzmus is a new creation. If it's creation and it's not atzmus, then it's not representative of atzmus. Yet we say no, it is representative of atzmus, and it is made amal. Why? Because of the quality of the devukus. That they always stay connected to tzuz. As we discussed throughout the time, and this morning we gave this introduction, the first thing. Devukus in oil means that devukus is entirely self-effacing, and it's only interested in its source rather than in itself. This is what we say over here. I'm going back to the previous line. The line begins, Hariyom Eino Etzem. The ha'oil legabe ha-atzmus. The oil in connection to atzmus, relative to atzmus, Hariyene bechinas gilum eno etzem. It is not in the quality, in the sense of gilum eno etzem. Commission is boiling, as we explained earlier, a great length, that in atzmus there is no oil. Therefore the oil is not a gili from the etzem. So if the oil is not in gili etzem, therefore the oil is not meino etzem. Mekol mokoim. But yet still, now we have a new way of understanding this in meino etzem. Liyoise b'bchinas devukus b'ho etzem. because that it has the quality of being a devukus, connected to the atzim, and that is the of the oir. The haina, which means the mitziyosei, the mitziyosei min ha-atzmus. So now he kind of rephrases this whole thing. On the one hand, mitziyosei min ha-atzmus, the presence of the oir coming from the atzmus, is not an essential inyan atzmus. It's not representative of atzmus, because in atzmus there is no oir. Therefore, it's mitzvah from Atmos who rak is exclusively mipnei shekah hu retzeni yisborich. It was only because this is what Hashem wants. It's not a natural phenomenon. There's no oil in the etzem, and that therefore the oil comes from the etzem. There is no saying. It's saying this is what He wants. So therefore, this is a new creation which is not representative of Atmos at all. It would seem. Aval, however, being that Hashem's will, that the rotzon of Asmus is, who liheyois bebchinas oir, that this gilui should be in the form of oir. What is the nature of oir? Nature of oir is that oir is connected to its source. It's self-effacing, as we explained before. In this rotzon is not only the Atzma should be known by its actions, but this will begin to say that the knowledge will be in the oil quality. Therefore, therefore it retains this inyan that he is dobik b'atzmas, because since Asmus wants the gili should be b'chinas oil, in an oil manner. Oil manner means it stays connected to the Yatz. So, who caught the pitch?
So at the same time, it's a new creation, but it's double.
Right. Because that creation was created in a manner that it should have the nature of oil. These are b'chinas oil. Let me explain. I mean, these are extremely elusive words, but it should be b'chinas oil. What is b'chinas oil? As I said, b'chinas oil is that oil is self-effacing. Oil, it nullifies itself. It doesn't represent itself. It's an extremely important. I hope after all discussions we will get to understand this.
B'chinas or is used in which phrase?
That in this context, that even though the oil was created by a godly will, it's a new creation. It's not part of Atzmos. But the rotzin to create it contained this in it, that he wanted to create it b'chinas oil in an oil quality, in an oil form. That's a unique type of creation.
Unique type, a unique level.
A unique manner of creation. These are b'chinas oil. Okay, please stay with me and let's see if we can understand. If I bang on the table, so you know that somebody banged on the table, but the bank and the banger are entirely two separate entities. As a matter of fact, at the time when it's banged, it's already separate from the source. And you know that somebody banged it or I banged it, not because you look at the bang and you see, oh, it's my bang. It's not my bang. It's a bang. Could have been anybody else's bang. And I didn't necessarily bang with my fist. I banged with a hammer. Would be the same thing. Not representative of the answer. And it's not connected to the yesh.
At what point?
This is when the creation, or the koach I create, that comes through in the form of a koach, not oir. Something, if the creation is b'chinas oir, it's a completely different kind of creation. B'chinas oir means that the created aspect should carry with it the principle that this is coming from this source. That's meant oil.
Aren't they both energy?
No, come on, listen.
I'm listening.
Because oil is connected, the meaning of oil, that is represent oil.
What was that sentence?
Huh?
I didn't understand.
It represents a oil. That's what oil is. The primary statement of oil, please understand this. I bang on the table.
Mm-hmm.
The primary statement of this bang is that there was a bang. In any direct way, you figure that if there's a bang, there's somebody banging, yanking it. Somebody banged it. Or something banged it. But the bang itself stands for being a bang. Oir. What is the primary statement of oir? Is that there is a moir. This is oir. Oir may ein ha-moir. By nature, this is oir. The union of oir is me'ein ha-moir. Is to bring the moir out. To be megal the moir, not to represent its koach, and to be a something.
Oh.
Just to
Just 1 second. Do we understand so far? I mean, before questions. The point that we're trying to make. We're constantly repeating it, like I said before. In the case when the oil comes from the moil, like oil hashemesh. Oil hashemesh is actually rooted in the shemesh, because shemesh has that quality of oil, of light, and that's a quality that emanates from the shemesh. In this union, that this quality emanates from the shemesh, because it emanates in an oil manner, this light continues to point to the shemesh. It says, what makes it light over here? The shemesh, not light. It's a shemesh. That's the union of oil. The union of oil is that it says connected and representative of the source of the moil. This is the definition of oil. Atzmos created oil. Created a completely new creation. It's not a revelation from Atzmos. Atzmos created, but Atzmos created in a manner, because Atzmos, why did Atzmos create oil, so to speak? Because Atzmos wanted to be Nizgala. To be Nizgala means that it should represent the Atzmos. Atzmos created this oil in a manner of oil, because thereby oil is represented the Atzmos. Is Megala the Atzmos. Therefore, this oil stays connected to the source. Just like the nature of oil in general is that it stays connected to the source. Therefore, even though this oil does not come from the source, it was created by the source. It was created. I said the Ritzayna is Borech, that it should be Bechinas oil. That this Gil should be in an oil manner, not in a koach manner. Let me explain one second. There are subtle things, and I hope in Mitzvah will get to it. We mentioned lately a lot. This Gemara was Omer Malko Okartur. Melech said he uproots a mountain. Now, to uproot a mountain, there is different means to uproot the mountain. You take an earth, you take a heavy machinery that can move mountains. So what's the big deal? Omer Malko Okartur. So he said, so you bring machinery and you move the machine, you move the mountain. The principle that we say Omer Malko Okartur is to explain that when the king says the mountain moves, it moves not because of the power of the machinery. It moves by the will of the king. Which is what makes it move. And this is represented in this movement of the mountain. The presence of the king. It moved because the king is there. The king wants it to move. This is much of the Yisrael, but this is the principle of the Gemara. So that this movement is directly attributable and representative of the presence of the king, rather than the presence of the tractors that move the earth.
So too by the light.
So this light, this oil eliki, that was created by Rotzen ha-atzmi. Atzmus wanted to express itself, to be nisgal. Atzmus wanted to be nisgal, not that I'm able to do all kinds of different things. Like I said, I'm banging. I want to be nisgal in an oil manner. That whatever happens as a result of this gilus happens because Atzmus wants it to happen, not because it affects the action.
The table banging is energy and the other one is light?
I know I'm going there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay, that's it. I'm not going there to encapsulate it in those terms. Just want to understand what you're saying here.
We just spoke at length about or that's gilu mina ha-atzmi. Is there? What is the nature of or that is not gilu mina ha-atzmi?
That's what we are saying the whole time. Oil hashamash is gilu min ha-atzmi.
Yes.
Oil eleki is not gilu min ha-atzmi. The reason that oil hashamash is gilu min ha-atzmi because in shamash there is oil. Shamash stands for oil. Atzmos does not stand for oil. Therefore, the oil eleki that comes from Atzmos doesn't come from Atzmos.
So what is it gilu?
What?
If it's not, or eleki is not gilu ha-atzmi.
Not gilu min ha-atzmi, right?
So does it have any content, any message?
It has a message. The message is that there is an atzim.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
There's no
That's
other...
why you said that's why the gilu was in the form of oil, not in the form of koach. In the form of
and it provides nothing of the quality of etzem. Just a statement of there is.
That's right. There's no quality in that.
Right.
Why do you say what you just said? Because don't we say that ma'ain ma'er means that it does have a quality there of ma'er?
That's the whole thing that we're struggling with. There is no quality in Moyer.
Uh-huh. That's good.
It's Me'in HaMoed because it's connected to the Moed, that's it. So it continues to represent the Moed. But in Moed there is no oil.
It sounded like
Hmm?
it sounded that we want to make 2 points. There's the oil is a gile in that sense, and also that in the oil itself it took koach.
Both of these are what's called berotz.
Yeah, but what is these 2 points? That once he wants to say that the oil is a gile, and then he said
Then it is oil.
So
Koach ha-atzmus. There is koach of oil and koach of atzmus. There is oil inside. Then there is koach of atzmus. Oil. The effect of oil is not by any action. Oil is megala what there is.
is Magana?
What there is. Doesn't create it. There's no action, just removes the koach. Atzmus, the koach atzmus is the creative power. Yesh. That is exclusive, that's a koach atzmus. The koach oyer in soif, and koach atzm. Koach atzm is loy b'yerach. We discussed last week a lot about it. These are 2 distinct things. Yes, right. The oil remains oil in soif, and then gam yesh boy koach atzm. That's a completely different phenomenon.
Could you repeat what you said? It's not the koach of the player Ein Sof.
Koach ha-atzm, oil in soif cannot. Oil in soif does not have the koach to create yesh me'ayin. It can illuminate. It can show what there is, but not to create yesh me'ayin. We spoke about it, in a completely different vein and different level.
What are you saying does have the koach of atzmus of creation? Kal?
Ultimately, in the oil there is a koach atzmus. And that is due to the devukus. It's not part of the oil itself. This is due to the devukus element.
If ultimately so, why don't we say that about the oil soap itself?
They are saying it about the oil soap, but we're saying in oil soap there are 2 qualities. There's the oil and there's the koach atzm.
I'm trying to understand, to distinguish it. How would it be if there's, let's say, oil and soap without the koach? What would happen then? Just
what you're saying makes sense.
I can't talk about oil and soap. I'll talk about a human level. Seichel is oil and nefesh. Seichel is oil and nefesh. This is why Seichel has such capacity to understand things which are exclusively nefesh quality aspect. Chochmah. When this Seichel loses the sense that it's actually getting connected to the nefesh, and it becomes self-sufficient, When a person has his own basis, his whole reality on the basis of his seichel, he's got nothing.
These two elements come together.
Huh?
These two elements are inseparable? These two elements, are they inseparable?
They are in essence inseparable. But if you want to separate them, we could. Otherwise, if you don't care where it's coming from. I don't. You understand what your question was?
Yeah, but then it loses its whole quality of
That's
being,
right.
of being the
In our
being order.
commercial, the host and the guest. The food that the host serves is from the host, representative of the host. But the guest doesn't care about the host element. He only cares about the food. What happens then? He loses the whole reality of it. You ask me how you separate. This is what happens when you separate.
Does this refer to the two qualities of Or and Sof that you spoke about?
What?
Does this refer to the two qualities of Or and Sof that you just spoke about?
I can pin down your question. But yes, in Ayin Sof there is these two, and there is the oil and there is the koach ha-atzmi.
So we would say in our Muslim that the oil would be the cycle and the tzimtzum would be the nefesh.
The answer is yeah, that which higher than seichel. Rotzen and loynik and nefesh, right? Exactly right. Exactly right.
And what are we trying to bring out? Once he said there's a gili, and once he said there's a koach. Is he trying to bring up both points? No?
No, not koach. Koach ha-atzmi.
Koach ha-atzmi.
That's not in that.
Once he said the word,
It's a gilui min ha-atzmi. Why is it gilui? Because Enzim wanted to be nisgal.
yeah, but it's a gili min ha-atzmi means also that it has actually a koach ha-atzmi.
No, man. There is no, in Etzem there is no gilui. The whole gilui is because he wanted to be nisgal. But this wanted, he wanted it that the gilui should be in the form of oil.
Yeah, but we're saying that the form of oil has an tzimtzum too.
That's the meaning of gilui, a form of oil. But it's megala the Etzem.
And because it's magala, it means that it has it already, or because it's magala, that therefore it has it?
It doesn't have it. It has it because of the devukus. Look at these words over here. Okay, I'm going to the line that begins with the word ha-atzmus. Have it?
What's the second one?
So ha-atzmus who? The oil, the conformity to earth is only rak mipnei shekah hu letzeni yisbor. It is not that's something that is contained in the atzmus. It's a mitzvah from the etzem only because that's the way the Rebbe wanted. He wanted to bring out the oil. Therefore, from that perspective, it would seem that they are two separate entities. There is no atzmus in the oil. However, but the yois the ritzoyne yisborich who, being the rotzen of Mebashman is li yois bibchinas oir, that this gilui should be bibchinas oir, not just a gilui of what I'm able to do. When it should be bibchinas oir, there should be retain the quality of oir. Therefore, this gilui has a quality of devukus v'atzma, because that's the nature of oil. Again, let's go to our motion of the host and the guest. The host invites a guest, and he is giving him whatever he is giving him. But the real thing that they want, both, is the oil, which means that it is there only when they're both present. When there is a direct connect. If there is no direct connect, then I don't want it. That's why we say the oil is devukus by ha-atzmi, even though the oil is a creation, evolutional creation. But it retains, it has a quality of devukus by ha-atzmi because the rotzin from atzmus was that it should be a gilui in the oil quality. Oil quality, a gilui is connected to the source. That's the definition of oil. So no matter how much I'm going to go in circles, I have to call your attention to these words, and I would urge you to study these words and try to understand, to make sense of them. This can only be understood if you take it from the source. In summary, again, to repeat it, oil is a creation from atzmus. It is not representative of atzmus, because in atzmus there is no such thing as oil. We discussed this way back when, and we discussed it today also. In atzmus there is no such thing as oil. Let me repeat that. What does that mean? The shemesh has oil. You know why? Because the shemesh has a function. It's oil. It is brightness. It's essen behiri. Because
Function
it has
creates oil.
Huh?
If it has a function, that means that it has oil. If it has,
No. If it has a function, therefore there is a mean by which this function can reveal itself. Oil is revealing the function. The sun is brightness. Therefore, it has a means by which this brightness can be produced, can be revealed. The nefesh has a function, has an etzem. What is nefesh? Nefesh is chai. Therefore, there is such thing as oil nefesh. The oil nefesh is the giving of chais. Atzmus does not have a functional definition. Therefore, there's no way to be megala atzmus. There's nothing to be megala. In nefesh there is something to be megala. In shemesh there is something to be megala. In atzmus there is nothing to be megala. What then is the presence of oil atzmus? The creation. This is a volitional creation. Hashem created this soil. So if you say Hashem created this soil, therefore it is not representative of atzmus. It's a new creation, like everything else. Like I said, a bank. This bank does not represent the person. It's a bank. Oil is a creation. However, this is the big catch, and these are the words that are challenging to our sake. The yois the ritzena yisborich, being that it's Hashem's will, who li yois b'pchinas oir. He's willing that they should be in oir quality, in an oir manner, rather than in an active manner. like I gave the example of the Melech. He moves the mountain by will, not by action. By his presence, he moves the mountain. This is even from Oyer. The Tzeni is Baruch Nizu B'chinas Oyer. This is why the Oyer stays connected to the source, because that's what Oyer is. The nature of Oyer stays connected to the source. Look at these words
Missing
before
some
you ask any questions.
Missing some questions. I think that's why we are missing some questions. There's supposed to be some questions in between.
We are learning this thing for now, the best I can call a month, maybe more. The best couple of pages. All the questions that are pertinent to this are contained in these last lines. It's all a review, essentially. They're contained in these last lines. He's saying several things. Oyer is me'en amoyer. Oyer is under of the source. That is only when the oil comes from the moyer. Then it's representative of the moyer. But oil does not come from the moyer. It's creation from the moyer. Therefore, then it is not representative of the moyer.
Why is the creation not representative?
Because he created something. Created something outside of himself. And it's his. Like a bank. Is this bank representative of who I am? Of my
Representative of an anger.
So
It represents an anger.
It's not representative. When you invented, hey, listen, I'm here. Please come. It's representative. It could be a very amicable bank.
Some kind of emotion.
In yeshiva, when I used to there's a seder of learning. So there's a story of seder goes from 11 till 2 was a seder learning. 2 o'clock is when the seder ends, and then you have to go and have lunch. But nobody gets up until what happens? The mashgiach makes a signal, and the bocha gives a bang on the table. And the bang is called a patch. This bang releases the bocha to go and have lunch. It's not an anger.
It's some kind of emotion. He needs attention, or he's angry, or it represents some kind of emotion. A zillion of emotions.
Not emotion. No.
Listen to me.
No.
Mincha.
No, that's not listen to me. It's be released, it's free to go do what you want to do. How is that emotion?
What are we saying is bechinas or? We're not saying the or is bechinas or. What are we saying is
the oil.
The
Yes.
or is bechinas
The
or.
gilui from atzmus was intended to be in the oil quality, in an oil manner.
Or means luminary, right? It reveals something. Yes, that's what you're saying.
So the quality, the union of oil, the quality, is harei b'chinas devukus b'ha-atzmi. I said, please listen, read these words over 10 times, and try to put them together, and then we'll have something to talk about. He wanted that this gilui should be b'chinas soyer, in the oil manner. Therefore, it has the quality of being devukus, harei b'chinas devukus b'ha-atzmi. Because the union of oil is a representative of etzem.
Well, why to stress or should be bechinas or? Or is
The gilui should be b'chinas oil. There is no oil in atzmus. He created a gilui. He wanted to be nizgalei, and the gilui he wanted it should be in an oil manner.
what's this step? Gilui and bechinas or? These two.
Gilui, this is what Atzmus decided to be nizgalei. There's nothing else was to be Mizrach. Outward sign to be Mizrach. And he wanted that this Gilu should be B'Bchinas Or.
Intent is devukus.
Devukus means staying connected.
Intent is what? And so where the devukus comes in?
And because it's B'Bchinas Oyer. Oyer is by nature dovuk to its source.
So is that what it means when you say he wanted it to be the B'chinas Oyer? Because Oyer is dovuk. That's any other kind of Gilu would not have been dovuk.
Right. Right. There's more to speak about it, but we'll leave it out just to catch these words. Then we have something, some Gilu.
How does devukus become like the atzmi?
Because that's what devukus is. Devukus means that he doesn't separate from the source. Represents what the answer is. That's what devukus is. That's the main amoy. It says Eved Melech Melech. You know what that means? Eved Melech Melech. The servant of Melech is a Melech, is a king. How is he a king? He's an Eved. But because an Eved does not have its own presence whatsoever, there's no personal identity whatsoever. There's no yachas. No yachas, no progency, no creative quality. He's representing entirely the Melech. It's Eved Melech. Even though he is a separate entity. But he is actually a Melech because he carries himself with him the koach of Melech.
Is that Me'in Melech?
Yeah. Only a Melech can have an Eved. In the real sense of the word. It's Me'in Melech. All right, let this be the struggle for this morning.